It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Yep. And we are live. We are live. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Hello, Jerry. Hello, Mike.
Hello.
Hello, chat.
Oh, your hair looks lovely.
Do you know what I did? And Mike, I know you'll know this one too. Whenever you're a kid and your mom licks her fingers and taps your hair, that's literally what I just went and did.
I didn't know
So,
it was behind me. I'm sorry.
Well, tapping the hair was only when you had something like on your face, and that was always kind of like,
My
why are
mother.
yeah,
you
or
doing that?
hair. So I did it with the hair. Is
And
what
my mother.
it's
Yeah,
still. It's wet here. Yeah, I got
yeah,
it wet.
right.
So. Yeah. So, hello, welcome in everybody in the chat. We have got Miss Leslie as our chat mod tonight. Big Mama, Misbehaving, Chew, Limber, and there's our chat mod, Miss Leslie M. So, thank you all for being here. Sorry we were a couple minutes late. I have a power outage, as you can see the darkness behind me. Half of our place has no electricity, so we had to move everything. So, hello, Mary Ramirez. Hello, and welcome in. I have been sick and I needed to be here. So, pardon my looks, but it is what it is. So, I'm not here for your beauty contest anyway, right? None of us are.
What? This
So,
is. I thought it was a beauty contest. What?
what?
I thought it was a beauty contest. What?
No, not tonight, sweetheart. Not tonight. So, I just want to, before we jump into the topic, I'm excited to have Cups here tonight. Excited to have Jerry here, all of you in the chat, and Leslie for being our fantastic mod. But I just want to address something real quick here, okay? I don't care if you're a troll, a mole, or a pineapple from Dole. You are all welcome to come to these shows. Everybody, okay? You're all welcome. I am going to be polite and kind to you if you are the same to me. Period.
Oh goodness.
Okay. There's been some things that have happened during the past week. Um, a lot of things behind the stage that are not shared out on YouTube. Um, what happened last Sunday, for those of you that know about it, it was not a good situation. And I think, Jerry, you would agree with me on that, right? And Jerry and I had private conversations after the show. I expressed my feelings on it. I did not endorse it, support it, like it, love it, none of the above. I had a conversation also with the mother in law, as you guys like to call her. And it was a very good conversation. And the only thing I will say is that I apologized to her for the situation myself because I felt that bad. Okay. So we're going to leave it at that. There's lots that happens behind the scenes, and that isn't, you don't get every single detail on YouTube. Even though some of you are self-proclaimed Henson family experts, you're not. Okay. All that you know about the Henson family is what happens on camera. You don't see the rest of it. Okay. So, but I want to make it very clear that this channel is not going in that direction. It's not. I answered some of your comments. I've gotten emails from people telling about people doing drama channels and this and that. I don't care about all that stuff. Oh, dear Jesus, as my witness, I do not care about negativity and tearing people down. Okay. So it's not going to happen here. I was nice this week. I answered some of your emails, pretty much all of your comments, but I'm not going to do it again. Okay. I would hope that the number one thing that I got is, how can you support Jerry? Well, let me tell you a little secret. When you're going to her channel, you're supporting her too. You are right there supporting her also. Agree, Jerry?
Yes.
You're right there supporting her. When you go to, I've heard there's a few channels that are monetized that make money off the Henson family. Guess what? You're putting coin in somebody else's family for that. It's your choice if you want to go there, but don't bring it here. I would hope that you would find better things to do with your time, but I'm just not going to address it anymore. We have more important things. No offense, Jerry, Jim, or Sally. We have more important things and issues to cover in our country than the Henson family. So, again, you're all welcome here. I don't care who you are, but you're just going to be kind here. And I also got, well, if you're as kind as you say you are, you know what? You can judge me all you want. I know who I am. My family cups, right? You know who I am.
Yes.
And I was accused of praising someone that is in the chat. The only one I praise is Jesus. That's it. Okay. So you're all welcome here, but you're just going to be nice, or Leslie, our mod, is going to take care of you. Okay. So with that said, and I'm not going to keep doing this every week, like giving little speeches on stuff. You're just going to be blocked, period. So, but with that being said, tonight our show is about deportation, Cecot, what is going on with that, and could you possibly be deported or detained? Okay, let's start with some of the news briefings that we have had today. Busy time with all the stuff coming out. And Cups, I'm going to let you lead the way on that. I think, of course, the first thing to talk about is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who, as you guys know, was shipped off to El Salvador, told to bring him back, didn't. President Trump had said that the plane was already in the air, yet the plane actually stopped in Honduras to refuel and then went on to El Salvador. So you want to pick it up from there, Cups?
Yeah, it looks like for some reason at this point that there's going to be more legal challenges that are going to take place here. But right now, as it is, there is a senator went down to try to see this
Mr. Garcia, for short,
yeah,
just
Mr. Garcia, and they did not allow it. And
didn't I tell you that would happen, by the way?
You did. The court also, it's turning a little different because the Supreme Court had issued an order that some have seen as being vague because they use in a 9-0 decision, they use the terminology of the administration, the Trump's administration would need to facilitate the release of Mr. Garcia from the prison in El Salvador, which by all accounts, it's not exactly a nice place to be. Not that any prison would be, but there's it has a reputation that kind of precedes it just in the short time that's been in existence.
Okay, well now, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, did say that if he was to be released, that the United States would offer him a plane. I think it was just to come home. We weren't going to really give him a plane, but he was going to be offered a plane. Let me say real quick, hi to What My Oh My, welcome in. And my little Picky Nicky, my sweet little hand holder, hello. Glad to see you too. But whenever he was offered this plane ride home, then that switched real fast. Now I want to go back. I just thought about this, that we had the discussion a few weeks ago about Vice President Vance telling President Zelensky that he should be grateful to the United States. He should be saying thank you. And then he got blasted for not wearing a suit. Okay. Some of you said, well, he should have a suit on, this and that. Well, I don't know if any of you noticed, but whenever the president of
El Salvador.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm trying to read the chat and talk. The president of El Salvador, President Bukele, tell me what he showed up in on Monday. He didn't have a suit on.
He had like a mock turtleneck.
He had a turtleneck and a sports jacket.
Yeah.
That's what he was wearing. Now, why was there no mention of that? We just gave him $6 million to take 200 prisoners, quote prisoners. He couldn't afford a suit and tie. If it's expected of Zelensky, it should be dress code for the Oval Office. Let's be fair. America's a fair country, right? We all claim to be. So let's be fair. But I just wanted to point that out, that
Oh,
here, the president from El Salvador came and parked right there on the couch. I guess it's a new thing, because anytime a leader of another country is there, it's the president and the leader. It's not the president, the vice president. And this time it was the attorney general also, Pam Bondi. So she was sitting right next to our vice president, but there was nothing said about his clothing at all. So I just wanted to point that out. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not. And what my, oh my, that's exactly who we're talking about. That is Kilmar Abrego Garcia. We'll just call him Mr. Garcia for short. Hi, Monique. Welcome in. But, oh my gosh, and if you guys hear noise, literally, I'm up against the door. I moved from where I was because half the electricity is out here, and they say they can't fix it till tomorrow. So I'm on storage containers up against my front door. I showed these guys backstage what my setup is. So, and as people are in the hall, I'm going to pick up noise. I apologize.
There's something that that I heard that with Mr. Garcia, that one of the reasons here is that he had tattoos, like I think it's MS-13 tattoos, and comments from the people in at that Cecot prison is that they know that he's a member of MS-13 because he has tattoos, but he's done cover-ups on the tattoos. So I thought it was a little strange that they're saying that there's cover-ups on his tattoos, and unless they allowed him to get tattooed down there, how did our ICE people see and identify the tattoos if he's got cover-ups on him, cover-up tattoos?
Well, now President Bukele did say that it was preposterous to bring him back here because he's illegal. Well, he has legal political asylum here. So that's incorrect. He's not illegal. And Cups and I had talked, off camera the past few days about this senator going down there. And Cups had said he is most likely he's a senator. He's going to get to see him. And I said, I don't think that he will. And I'm curious too, if the senator, I didn't have time to look it up, if the senator paid his own money. Jerry, do you know that? Or was that taxpayer money for him to go down there?
It was probably taxpayer. Yeah.
I don't
know. Here in the chat, Mary is saying, no, they're talking about the man, the one that started with this is recently. But somebody had asked about the 19-year-old. I know who you're talking about, Mary. You're talking about the young man that was an Uber Eats and a DoorDash food delivery person. And yes, he got picked up. There is also in El Salvador there that we know of, you guys, that we know of. Hi, Chatty Hag. Welcome in. She's Chatty Hag says hello also to Jerry, to Michael, and the chat. But there's only a few that we know of that are there that should not be there. Who knows how many are really there? The one person also that is getting no publicity at all or help is Andre Navarro from Venezuela. Andre Navarro is a gay hairstylist, not from El Salvador, you guys, from Venezuela, that got picked up because of a crown tattoo on the inside of the wrist, left arm and right arm, and two different styles of crowns. One had the mother's name, one had the father's name. And then ICE used the excuse that they were able to back up that this gay hairstylist from Venezuela was definitely a gang member because they used his social media and they saw pictures of him with crowns. Well, if you look at the crowns on his Instagram post, they're beauty pageant crowns. They're beauty pageant crowns, you guys.
Yeah, it's tough.
Now, when I want to go back to Mr. Garcia for a minute here, Jerry and Cups. Mr. Garcia at first was portrayed as, first it was that he was accidentally picked up. Then it was he was a suspected, right or wrong, Jerry Cups, suspected MS-13 gang member.
Yeah.
Then it has switched from that to that an informant a couple of years ago happened to tell them, now his asylum wasn't revoked, but an informant told ICE that, yeah, he's a gang member. He's a gang member. What is that? What if I did that to either one of you? What if I did that to either one of you in the chat? Would that even stand up in court? Actually, sometimes it does when they get the, informants or the jailhouse people, but it's absurd. Absolutely absurd. Do you two agree, disagree?
Yeah.
I have, here's the thing, just as a matter of disclosure, I think that I believe our the border and the immigration policies were in definite need of attention, needed to be addressed, fixed, and everything else. However, I don't know that the way that it's currently being done as far as this situation we're talking about, what separates us from other countries is that we really hold ourselves up as a nation of laws and due process. If you're in another country, you literally, and there was just a situation with a gentleman, I believe it was in Denmark, that they had an issue with an Uber driver, and they literally, because the Uber driver said they didn't pay him, even though they canceled the ride, but it automatically pays them because they're in the car. They were held for days in a prison, and they weren't even allowed to return home because an Uber driver, I mean, how much could the fare possibly have been that he was out?
If you want to go to prison anywhere, Denmark is the place to go to prison in.
Well, if you listen to their story, it doesn't sound like it was a great place to be. I don't know that there's any prison that's a good place to be.
I don't, well, maybe they were just in jail, but even
I don't
in the
even think
prisons,
Beverly Hills has a good prison, if they do have a prison there. But
yeah. Well, in Denmark, though, they have like luxury apartments for the people in prison. Jail might be different.
I don't think they let these guys go to that wing. But here's what I question though, is how we, without like having a judge basically hear what these people say, because we like to make sure that we don't take and give somebody their day in court. And whether it's somebody that's being deported, at least have an opportunity to say, hey, this is it, just in case there's a mistake being made, which apparently there was a mistake in Mr. Garcia's case, which has been admitted to. So to get their chance. Well, apparently none of these people actually had a chance to have their day in court to at least speak to a judge. And then what we're doing on top of it is sending, not just deporting people, we're sending them, many of whom, to a country that they don't even, maybe have never been, don't belong to, aren't citizens of. They're going there, and they're going instantly into a notorious prison.
They are in Section 8, and no one has access to them. They've been taking several news tours through and showing people parts of the prison, which is an exception because they don't do that. But yet
when
Section 8
our
is off
country though,
limits.
is taking and paying for it. How many times do we deport somebody? Then we're done, right?
Mhm.
We're not done with these people because we're now paying for them to be incarcerated. They have never been adjudicated. They've never had their day in court, yet they're being held in a prison for an indefinite amount of time. Nobody knows exactly when they're going to be released. I figure maybe as long as money is being given to Cecot, then they're going to continue to hold them. You know, it's
Okay,
like if
but
this is generating revenue for you, why would you let them out?
exactly. Let me read the chat real quick. Chatty Hag, I hope that you get better. I've been sick also. If you look at the size of my eyes and the color of my skin, I've been very sick myself. So, but I was not missing the show no matter what. Hello, Margarita, and Dylan. Hello, welcome in. Well, Jerry, what is your opinion on this whole mess so far?
I wanted to add to what Cups was talking about the due process. And this just came out in the Washington Post 3 hours ago. And now Trump administration directs judges to deny asylum seekers without hearing. So basically says Trump wants the judges to now swiftly push through asylum seekers if they don't think they're going to make it, to just deny them instantaneously. So not only are we not getting due process for those being pushed out, but he wants to have due process to those coming in. Nobody gets immediate asylum anymore, but they get their day in court. And he's also saying if they look like they're unlikely to, the article says if it looks like they're unlikely to get asylum, then don't even give them a day in court. Just push them
No,
back.
no. How would you know? How would you know if someone looks like they're going to get asylum?
Exactly. That's a great question. I don't know. I don't think the judges know or the people know, but
Mhm.
that's
How do you guys in the chat, ladies and guys, I should say, how do you feel about that? That if somebody is trying to come here legally, that somebody can just make an opinion and not accept them. Now, there's also two that I've heard of, immigration attorneys, each in different states. One has been from uh, no, Big Mama and hello, no, it doesn't say no criminal history. It just says to make an instant decision as to whether they can, you know, get it or not get it. So no, they're not going to bother to ask about criminal history. They're going to look at them and make a yes or no decision. But I have seen two attorneys from different states. One has been a U.S. citizen from Turkey now for at least 20 years. The other attorney is on the East Coast. She is a U.S. natural born citizen, and both of them have been sent letters to self deport. And if they don't, the federal government will track them down. Their letters have been verified that they're valid, but the federal government will track them down, imprison them, or deport them. So the question was with the one who,
Signed Elon Musk.
yeah, funny, not funny. But whenever you get that letter and you've been a citizen and you're a lawyer, for goodness sakes, so you've committed no crimes, and you got your green card, you got your citizenship, you're here, you're working, you're paying your taxes, you're helping people with immigration, and now you're getting this letter to self-deport. And then the other one, she was born here. I think she was born in Maryland or Connecticut, somewhere right there on the East Coast. And she's working as an immigration attorney, graduated college, everything, law school, the whole bit. And now she's being told to self deport. How do you guys feel about that? Is that okay to do? And where do you send a U.S. natural born citizen? Where do you send them to self deport? Where do they go?
Probably the Bahamas or Fiji or somewhere at least
Nice and
warm.
nice and warm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Hey, as long as the U.S. is paying for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we need to divide up the $6 million and see what it is per person. 2 were arrested yesterday here in Clearwater. Blatant M13 adds tats on their stomachs. Okay, well, you know
Here,
what?
and they're truly, they're going to be people, because we know within our country there are legitimate uh, gang members from other countries that are here.
Yeah. Well,
And I think, especially here, I think you find those people, then I still believe even those people, because we want to have it documented, recorded. You still want them to go before a judge rather than just say, okay, throw them on a plane, get them out. Have the judge, because we need to have it set in stone, because 10 years from now, those people could pop back in again. And what do we know about them when there's at least a court record and everything else about it? And saying, here, no, it was all discussed, and here it was found that they needed to be deported. You okay?
God bless you.
sorry. Yeah, I'm good. Okay, but here's the thing. In this country, before we supposedly got millions of outsiders that were gang members, we have cities here in America that from the time I grew up that we knew had quote gangs. Just the names of the cities, automatically you thought bad, corruption, poor, slum. Detroit, Michigan, Compton, California,
City.
yo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and we've let it fester and go there on and on and on. Rebecca, what about the illegal you have here in the chat? You know who they are. What? No, I don't know. Actually, you want to tell me who's illegal here in the chat?
Who said that, sweetheart?
That is Ada Luca, Alda Luca.
So here's what I don't understand. Somebody explain to me. Maybe you guys know better. Just because somebody has a tattoo that's affiliated with a gang.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you know what? Hold on. Let me do this one myself if I can. Okay. Gee, how convenient. Now you want to tell me you're not a troll? Becky Herrera? Bye-bye. Give me a break. Isn't that funny? I mean, funny, not funny. What losers? Now you think you're gonna like stalk me? Yeah. And I don't mind. Like I said in the one, whoever called me Becky in the comments, I said, oh my gosh, I feel so special. My name is Rebecca, but if you feel the need to call me Becky, you go ahead, honey. You go ahead. So,
Young Karen. Do you know that?
huh?
Becky is the young Karen.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I
No,
know who I am. I have a very rich, full life. Do I or do I not, Cups?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a very good life. So, do I need to share everything in my life? No, I don't. No, I don't. So, if you little dirty kitties think you're going to bother me the way that you do to try and get to Jerry through a show that's so important, God, you've got nothing going on in your life. And I mean that sincerely. And like somebody's saying now, well, who do we have illegal? I don't care if you have papers in this chat. They're not required. Right, Cups? Right, Jerry?
Not required.
If you're illegal or a gang member, come on in. I want to hear your side.
wait.
I really do. I want to hear your side.
I want you
But
to see people who weren't here before, whether you're a troll, a mole, or a pineapple from Dole. That was the best thing I heard all day.
Exactly. Andale, ven para acá, por favor. Come on in. You're
yes,
welcome here.
unless they're Dole Whip, they may not make it.
That's right. That's right. No, no mole troll or pineapple from Dole.
I know what you were saying though, about yes, just because somebody has tattoos, that's all the more reason though that they need to go before a judge and have their day.
Even if they know somebody who's a gang member, if you see them hanging out with a gang member, his brothers, When do we stop? When do we stop prosecuting people on their crimes instead of just their affiliations?
Yeah, I mean, here you literally have to be able to say, this is what was done and everything else. And here, I'm sure there's there are things that they know, and I think they need to share as much as they can with uh, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and everything else. Because if there is inside information that's known, yeah, and it's not shared, it makes it that much more difficult when local police are doing, traffic stops and things like that, and they don't have all the information that could allow for, arrests to be made, and that even gets it, happening faster through our legal
But
system.
but look at how long, decades and decades and decades, that literally cities all across the country have allowed drug and gang activity. Now it's a high priority of our government, but only an exclusive group.
Well, that's what I
Well,
meant a couple of weeks ago. I compared them to the mafia.
Yeah.
People on me all about that, and I was like, no, it's organized crime. Whether you're a gang with tattoos or you're a monster with a gun on your hip, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's organized crime.
Well, think
mhm.
about it, right? It just in our society, some of the top movies that we list, and I enjoy the movies myself. Goodfellas, The Godfather, 1, 2,
Mhm.
maybe not necessarily 3. Um, and it's like these are this is about stories about organized crime and
Amen.
things, but we and John Gotti, and how we look how many different movies, documentaries, and everything else were made, and just the Dapper Don and all that. Uh, but he was a killer, a criminal, and everything else, and yet you know everybody looks back on it. Whoa, look at how he was, and
Mhm.
you know,
Well, welcome in, Anna. Nice to see you, honey. Yeah, but you know what? Anytime, and you guys give me your opinion. This is mine. If a crime happens to certain minorities, they are going to be arrested faster and harsher sentences
Amen.
than a white person is.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
and it's been proved over the years, you guys. Look how many people have been proven innocent that have spent decades of their life behind bars for a crime they did not commit. And
well,
now,
here,
Prison.
justice is blind at times. That's for sure. I mean, it's there is sometimes, I think, where, and this is not everyone, you know so I'm not, I know there's a lot of hardworking law enforcement, prosecutors, and everything else, but all it takes is somebody that just speeds a little bit with trying to put the evidence together and everything else, or leaving out a piece or not documenting a piece, and suddenly now it leads to somebody's conviction. And look, the DNA, and if we had DNA 50 years ago,
back then.
imagine
Mhm.
what would
Well,
have
now,
happened.
Big Mama, I don't know if you're talking about the statement just made or if you're talking to someone else in the chat, but Big Mama says not so. Look at the two recent murders in the headlines. And Pearl Cotter says that goes for whites too. So I don't know if that's a private conversation. Just let me know. Becky, laugh out loud. You're a hypocrite. Oh, here we go. You support illegals and people trying to swindle the system. And as our friend Jerry Ann, okay, here we go. I appreciate your comment, Sharon Ortiz, but you're gone. Uh, do I support illegals being here? Yeah, certain ones I do. They're contributing to our economy. They're picking your crops. They're doing all the dirt work that
Ignore.
legals do not want to do. A lot of them are being paid like slaves. They're not committing crimes. Yeah, I don't support all of them, but certain groups of them I do. I sure do. And as far as them swindling someone, we've already discussed this, told you, call your public aid offices. You cannot get any assistance when you are illegal, only if you get political asylum. You have to come from a communist country, and then you can get a check for a period of time and food stamps. And as far as Jerry Ann getting disability, for goodness sakes, she has stage 4 cancer. You know what, Jerry? Get off your butt today and go and get a full-time job. Okay? Why don't you do that? I
Me?
mean, yeah, they're saying that you're swindling the system, and I'm saying you have stage 4 cancer. What is she swindling? She applied, she got it. I know some of you little dirty kitties that get disability checks and get food stamps, and you can spend 15 hours a day on YouTube. Well, you could be sitting at home doing customer service. So, and the majority of illegal people, especially that come from Mexico, the day they arrive, they have a low paying job and they're working 15, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. So,
Here's the thing. I think, this is a forum that's, intended to be open to everyone. And
exactly.
I think everybody has to hear, nobody's screaming, nobody's yelling here. And it's the only way that an exchange of ideas, especially deferring ideas, um, will continue to take place is if, you know, don't cast aspersions, let's look at things. If we want to complain about our politicians, that's our God-given right to complain about our politicians. Here,
Exactly.
if they want your vote, they better be able to accept the criticism.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
know,
no, wait. What are your thoughts, both of you? I don't know who wants to speak first. On what's happening with these town halls that are being held?
I think that they're missing the point entirely. They're not listening to the constituents. They're arguing with their constituents, and they're making excuses for the current administration's tomfoolery with to their constituents. And that's not what town halls are for. Town halls are made for you to listen to your constituents' complaints, ideas, concerns. That's what they're there for. And when all they do is shut everything down that they say and disagree with everything that they say and say, I'm still going to listen to the current administration, what's the point?
Now, Martine says, and welcome in, Martin. How about the felon and his son, Baron, born here, but mom was not a U.S. citizen when he was born? And then Pearl Cottage says, Trump is not a felon. He was never tried or convicted.
Yes,
Uh, well, hold on, let me finish reading it. So you can't have it both ways. And then Limber says, Rebecca, that is my experience with illegal immigrants. They are also paying into Social Security system that they will never collect. Correct. Bolton line, we are all human beings walking different roads and we all need to be treated humanly. Well, we have an Eighth Amendment that says that in our Constitution. Right or wrong, guys?
Yep.
Against
yeah.
unusual, right? Cruel and unusual punishment. But there's plenty of people that go through that just to be here in America. So, and Mary Ramirez says the sad thing really is people are not judged on their character. They are judged on the color of their skin and their opinions more so than not. What my oh my says, Rebecca, you might not know this question, but could you please explain why someone comes to this country and lives here for 30 years or more and doesn't become a citizen? I see it on YouTube. Well, I can tell you why. Whenever people come here, whatever country they have come from, if they're here illegal, you can't just apply for citizenship. There has to be, sometimes there's raffles, like for Polynesian people. I know people that have won their thing literally. people were chosen a certain number with immigration through a raffle, and that's how they got their citizenship. Then there was also the amnesty program that we had back in the 80s, I think, maybe 90s. And so anybody that was here, you could apply for it. But if you're here illegally, you cannot just get your application and fill it out. You have to exit the country. And then if you're working with an immigration attorney, you have to exit and re-enter legally. You cannot, be rewarded for breaking our laws. So if you ever look that up of the process, but no, you can't just come here and fill out a paper to get your green card to then wait to be a citizen. It doesn't work that way. That's why so many people come here illegally. Okay, what my oh my says, I am confused at why they don't do it. One is from Italy and cooks on YouTube videos. Okay, you mean pick the person up? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, see, again, right now, this whole rush of picking people up, it's targeted at specific groups. And let's just be real, it's the Latinos they're after.
Well, here we've had issue with our southern border. We've had a policy that there should have been some changes, some adjustments years ago to correct it. There's not enough immigration judges and everything else, and you have backlogs of years. And I'm not blaming either party. I'm blaming both parties for this. And it's things that we should have. I blame Congress too, for not addressing this. And unfortunately, as it is right now, anybody that comes up from there obviously gets cast into the same pot.
Well, now, Pearl Cottage says they are not legal citizens to abide by the Constitution. Well, it's not the way it works.
I'm not sure what that means. What do you mean?
Meaning that because they're illegal, that the Constitution does not cover them.
Well, somebody in our country doesn't get all of the rights of a citizen, but there are certain rights that are afforded to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just a fact. And, that's why I wish that, like, all of the people that were sent down to this Centco, because I have a very difficult time. It's one thing if you deport somebody. It's another thing when you take and deport them to lock them up in an extremely, harsh, inhumane
for the rest of their life,
prison.
to take their life away.
And then not only did you deport them, but you've locked them up and, for God knows how long, and we're paying for it. We're paying for that,
Well, now Pearl College, I'm sorry, I always want to say college, not cottage. I'll just say Pearl. Pearl says that if you love this country, you would want to be legal as soon as possible. You don't think, Pearl, that that's not the dream of every person that comes to this country illegal? They're not coming here to say like, hey, what can I take? What can I do bad? No, they want to bring their children here. If they've got them back home, they want a life here. That's why they call living in America the American dream. The American dream, that so many other countries look at us and think that we're all wealthy in this country and that we have just surplus of everything, perfect lives. And you can ask anybody who's come here from another country that, yeah, it's totally different once they get here. It's not the magic candy land that they thought it was going to be.
Well, here, look at our own country. We have so many poor people here in our own country. We have families, we have kids that go hungry at night, when they go to bed. uh, and this is our own country that we have such huge disparities. You know, we have people born into wealthy families here that will never want for anything, and then we have others just because of circumstances, you know, they're born into poverty, and then it's like the continuation of it because of, you know, lack of good education resources and everything else, that it's like a continuing vicious cycle. And
Right.
that's our own country. And imagine, and we consider ourselves to be like, you know, premier in the world. Imagine in other countries where it's even, you know, greater disparities than what
Exactly. Well,
we have.
let me read this to you guys real quick. That Limber says that we believe in our system, and that's why we extend to anyone within our borders. And then what my oh my is saying, wow, Rebecca, wow, I know the illegal part, but if they don't want to become a citizen, I'm going to have to look it up. Uh, the rules now. I know about the waiting, but if they choose not to go through it, you know that's what you don't understand, honey. And it would be great for you to look it up. It isn't somebody not wanting to. Number one, if you want to hire an attorney, it costs you a lot of money, and it takes time. It does not, as he's saying, how backed up things are. Things don't happen overnight. And even if you get an attorney, the majority of people, unless there's some special program going on, they have to exit the country and enter back legally. How could you give citizenship to someone that broke the law to get here? This country would be overrun then with people that did that. And we're going to touch on it on another show. It was brought up very briefly by our president about selling a $5 million green card or citizenship. 5 million bucks, you guys. Anybody got it, you're going to be legal. Anybody. So, what kind of people is that going to attract here? It's going to be the drug lords, it's going to be the cartel. Come on. So, but do you guys believe that it is okay? We just had planes that went to El Salvador again this weekend. Do you guys think that's okay? Just keep shipping them over there. And what
Well,
is our
I think, I mean, and here, I'm not a lawyer, but I know enough, and I even looked up the definition, that I think was it Pam Bondi, the Attorney
attorney
General?
general?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was stating that they said to facilitate, which means if he shows up at the border, you know, uh, that we will allow him in, or if he needs to get a plane, we'll send a plane or whatever. But facilitate, in essence, is uh, to expedite or to make it happen. And when the court is saying that, you know, their order that came down was to facilitate the release of Mr. Garcia, um, and also that um, anyone in the United States is afforded due process. So
Okay, right.
if you're
But
caught,
repeat that part again. Anyone in the
the
United
United
States.
States is afforded
Yes.
due process.
Well,
Yep.
Pearl
So
Cottage is saying right now, excuse me
even
one
if you're
second.
illegal, you have due process
That's right.
that you're allowed. That's why we say you go before like an immigration judge, and they may say, literally may say, there are cases where if you just crossed over, you know, the border, where they can take and turn you right back around, you know, and send you over the border. But because crossing the border illegally is not a felony, it's a misdemeanor.
If you guys, I want to read this that Pearl is talking to Mary Ann, and she said illegals are not mentioned in the Constitution for giving them rights. Well, of course, when the Constitution was written,
Okay.
they didn't mention colors, legal or illegal. It was for people that are within the borders of this country.
When the Constitution was written, there was no citizenship because there was no country yet.
Well, there was, uh,
Or
we had,
but
it was for the citizens of the new nation, but we did not have, you know, all the states that we have now. We had 13 colonies.
and there was
Um,
yes, there was like, you want to be a citizen? All right, come on and join the union.
yeah, I mean, and here Mexico extended, up through, where present day Texas is, and California, and everything else. So, and that wasn't even anywhere near us, because the Louisiana Purchase hadn't even occurred yet, and so that's why the Constitution itself is I believe it's a living thing, and that it has to. There weren't cell phones back then. We didn't have all the cars, the vehicles, and the all sorts of types of business and banking and everything else that we have now, and instant you know availability of information and things like that they had that um, didn't exist. Slavery was legal back at that time, so things that um, they could not even think of or
Exactly.
couldn't
Foresee what
imagine
was coming in the
happening.
future. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, now Pearl says that it was Marianne that says that it was in the Constitution, not her. So she was just clarifying that. And several people are having a conversation back and forth amongst themselves, which, as long as you stay respectful, give your point of view. If you feel that people should be deported and sent on plane, it's fine. You're not going to be judged here. If you're judged, our chat mod Leslie will remove you. That's all. You have the right, and that's one of the great things about our country, if not the greatest, that we have freedom of speech. It's kind of changing right now, but we do have freedom of speech, or I should say, some of us do. And
Yeah.
that brings up the topic of Mahmoud Khalil from Columbia University. Jerry Ann, you want to take the lead on that?
Oh, this poor man. So, if you don't know, Mahmoud Khalil he was here on a student visa, and then now has the Rebecca, help me. It's not a green card necessarily. The process, he's on the stage of steps to get a green card. There's a temporary citizenship thing you have, right?
As far as I knew, I thought Mahmoud Khalil has his green card.
Yeah, that's okay. That's but he has his green card on his way to citizenship. So
Correct.
he was here. He was here legally. He was no longer here on his student visa. That was my point.
Correct. I'm going
But
to step away. I can hear you. I'm just going to step away to grab my drink because my throat's killing me. Okay.
so he was an anti-Israeli, a pro-Palestinian advocate, and um, he was
And he
having
was arrested.
yes, he was. He was
Yeah.
arrested for having anti-Israeli points of view on Columbia University, and it was used. The reason it was used as an excuse for him to be deported, which has been still, it's been appealed in the court system. New Jersey Supreme Court said, hey, you can't kick him out yet. They were first under the assumption he was under a student visa, but now they're saying because his anti-Israeli views, really pro-Palestinian views, are detrimental to our relations with Israel, and it goes against our president and administration. So
Okay. Well, it's not only that, but he has spoken out against our president.
yes,
So they're looking at him as a threat
yes,
to our country.
yep. They're saying he's a security threat, but if that's the case, they can come to me now because stand out on
He's committed no crime.
no crime at all. He was. I was trying to remember protests, but there's a
Yeah. Well, he was the leader of the protest.
no.
He spoke about the genocide, what happened, with the Palestinian people.
That
And
was the Columbia University protest and stuff like that,
yes,
wasn't it? Yeah.
yes.
Rally.
So they
That
put
was
him in.
think of.
They,
Sorry.
they put him in jail, and then he just had his trial. And
Well, I think they transported him to
Louisiana.
yeah, he went to
Louisiana.
another state for his trial.
He went to Louisiana, was found guilty, and was immediately scheduled to be deported. But a federal judge in New Jersey said, no, 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 not yet. There,
Well, yeah, yeah, and I think what happened in that, and I don't know enough of the details. I know some. Here's what I found strange is that, and I have mixed feelings on the whole. Some of the protests that were taking place at these universities because I thought, uh, to take over and keep students from being able to go to class and things like that. That to me, I think it's like it's okay to protest freely, but not to take it to the point now where you're restricting other students. It's just like the people that want to go block the roads and not allow, anyone to pass or anything else. It's like, I get it. You have a right to protest or you can protest. Just don't interfere with others that are just trying to either get by or go to class, or if it's a highway or expressway that they block off, not allowing you to go. But in this person's case, I find it strange why there are uh, immigration judges that they could go to up in New York, New Jersey area, but instead they chose to take them all the way down to Louisiana,
yeah.
which just on, like in uh, the face value, it seems like, okay, what's up here?
But
Why would you?
that was to give the view that he was getting a fair trial.
Right.
Well, he didn't actually even get a trial though, per se, because
Exactly.
what they did is it was because I heard the attorney or attorneys speaking and saying they wouldn't allow the presentation of any evidence or anything else, and a judge said, well, I'm not looking at any evidence. I'm just going to answer a question: can he or can he not be deported? So that wasn't due process. So it was a failure to allow due process to take place. That's why a judge stopped it and said, and there was a district court judge, a federal judge, that stopped it and said, hey, this has to be, we're going to hear more in this because I want to know how this could just be rushed through. And I'm, because I want everybody that is being deported, whatever, to at least have their, a hearing to see what's going on. But I also don't want it to be, a kangaroo court either, because then it's like, now we're turning back and saying, like, the authoritarians and everything else in other countries, how they do their thing. It's like like in Russia, you're already guilty. Look at this poor ballerina that spent over a year at a work camp because she gave $50 to a Ukrainian charity.
That's right.
$50. That $50 bought her over a year, and she was sentenced to like 12 years or something, some crazy thing.
Well, let me read a couple things here. I know people are chatting. What My Oh My wants to know why people are being sent to El Salvador, why not another country, and that they can be brutal there. And then I wanted to grab I missed it. The chat's moving pretty fast. I'm glad that you guys week by week are opening up and, chatting more with each other and stuff. I think it's absolutely fantastic. But I lost the comment that somebody else was talking about something with people being illegal. It might have been Pearl's. It was someone saying, it might have been Pearl, that when people are in prison, that they should be, it's not Candyland, that they should be treated that way. Anytime if somebody has committed a crime, here, could you fix this for me, Cupcake? If someone has committed a crime, it doesn't mean that you have the right to beat them and abuse them.
No.
Put stuff in there for me, if you will. Yeah, you're on camera, just so you know. Go put stuff in there for me, please. But it doesn't mean you have the right to beat them and abuse them and starve them, and you know what I'm saying. There are plenty of people that have come out of prison reformed and done great things with their lives. You know, they've turned their lives around. They're business owners, they're motivators, they're speakers and stuff. So not
But
everyone in
but
prison
if you're
in
sending these people to this prison, they have not, like the ones here in the US, they have not been convicted.
two, please.
They're
Well,
being
but
deported. They're not been convicted. So they're literally being deported, and not deported and let out at an airport and saying, okay, good luck.
that's
They're
right. Go
handcuffed
see
and
your
shackled,
families.
and they're going right into Cecot, and they're put into these 70 to 100-person cells
Actually, over a
where
hundred right now.
you're literally in there. You're in there. If you're not uh, a member of MS-13, you're sitting in there with members of MS-13.
That's right. Trente de Agua in the 18 gang. Now, someone else said in here that Abrego Garcia does have a criminal past. To look it up. The only thing that has come out as far as anything, quote, criminal against him is that his wife filed for a restraining order, I think in 2019. So they had a marital problem. Obviously, they worked it out. They got back together. They've got children together. But in a order of protection wouldn't be a criminal record against him. He wasn't arrested. He has absolutely no arrest
Well,
record.
here's my feelings on it. If, let's say, they're saying it's a criminal record in El Salvador. Okay. So if it's a criminal record in El Salvador, just show what it is, show what the evidence is and everything else, and maybe they're totally entitled that there's past crimes he committed there. But if that's the case, then guess what? Take him off our bill. Why are we paying the $6 million for, what do we got, 200 people there? And here we even sent, this is what's, like, it's so well thought out what we did. We sent I don't know, 6 or 7 women there too, and
Yeah.
the people at Cecot said, nope, we don't take women. This is an all male prison. So, and they had to turn them around. So it's like,
Oh wait, they
it,
couldn't. They were already in the air. I thought.
yeah, well, they did turn them around
Yeah,
and
they did.
send them back.
Right. Well, now Margarita is talking about the Cecot prisoners being in their boxer shorts, marching them into common areas, and made to sit nearly on top of each other. The cells look lack enough bunks for everyone. Yes, that's true. And they're stacking them 4 on top. The bunks go 4 high. No mattresses, no blankets, no pillows, because they say that way they will not set the place on fire. They also, I forgot to mention when we were talking about the prison last week, that they give them no meat of any kind ever. The guards get it, but the prisoners do not.
Well, because then,
So,
Rebecca, muscle mass causes strong people to fight back.
well, you know what my concern is that for a prison that is sitting out in the middle of the jungle in El
Yeah.
Salvador, you know, it's 30 miles from the capital, but it's out in the jungle. There's no chance in Haiti that you're going to escape from there. And just now, Bukele is allowing interviews and stuff that will stop because they don't allow telephone calls, visitors. They had even said attorneys, but now all of a sudden they're showing prisoners there talking to attorneys via, you know, the television thing. All that stuff is staged. It's all staged.
So the prisoners, from what I understand, like, uh, they, the ones that are there from El Salvador, they do have, court cases and things like that. And they do, like, a lot of their stuff is communication with judges, via like Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
But because logistically to fly them out of the jungle, and you'd have hundreds out at a time, because if they have court cases, so they do everything. And we do that here, in all fairness, with ones where we do links. If there's trials, though, I don't know how they do their trials, if they do the trial where he's sitting, because it's kind of, if they are doing it that way, that's
I'm just pulling
probably
this
a little
again
prejudiced.
out of the conversation that's going on. And Pearl says there will never be an unemployed officer here in the USA, in the prisons. Never.
I'm not sure
Never
what that.
be a what?
That they'll never be unemployed. In other words, we're always going to keep them going. And I just want to tell you, Marianne, please just, be kind. If you want to make statements, that fine, but like, don't tell Pearl to quit watching Fox and go to the library. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Maybe
here,
say it a different way,
prison
like
systems,
do
the
some
prison
research,
system in
whatever,
the
but let's
United
just all be
States,
nice. Okay.
we of all the countries in the world, we have the highest percentage of incarcerations. And why is that?
Honestly,
Because we're 47th in education.
Well, I think it's part of it too. If you
Yeah.
look at how we do some of the things we do,
Of course.
and I realize that we have to. I mean, it's not perfect. You got to have something, but there also is a. I think prisons are a business,
mm-hmm.
and when some of these people receive, for nonviolent offenses, that get these, really long prison terms, it's, some of it is shocking. And I don't even think we've hit the tip of the iceberg on you just letting the public know how long some of these nonviolent sentences are. And, that you're not, if there ever was a possibility of, reforming somebody, and I'm saying for nonviolent, because some of the violent offenses, it's like, we don't, obviously, there's limitations and everything else, but you don't want to, why should we subject the public at large with violent offenders? There has to be uh, some like fair punishment for whatever the crime is. But to take and do, nonviolent offenders and give them these incredibly long sentences, and then people run out of appeals and things like that, and spend so long in prison.
Bukele just said that on Monday to President Trump. He said that he's trying to get law and order in this country, and that we need to get rid of the prisoners, and he's willing to assist. And the president was caught off mic. It's been on every news channel that there is, telling him that, right? Did you hear that? What he said? And that he was talking to him and said that, we've got the prisoners to send there. And Bukele was saying he would assist. And the president said, you don't have enough room. And now the idea is, and President Trump has stood up and said it several times, that he's going to start sending our prisoners from here. They are going to be sent out. The first choice is El Salvador. They're talking about building more prisons. Remember, Cecot was only built, or Cecot was built in only 7 months.
Here, that I don't think that will ever happen. That you will send, the American citizens from our prisons to a prison outside of this country,
Right. Well,
because then there comes into the
Cups,
Constitution, because we go back
right.
to the
But I was going to
Constitution.
say Cups, right. But you're saying, you know, what our government behind the current administration is saying, because the
I,
current administration, that is their goal. Pam
well,
Bondi has said it, our Attorney General, and so has our Secretary of State, Little Marco from Florida, that other countries have been so generous to offer to take our prisoners.
I would. There are a lot of other issues I would worry. I don't think that's one we need to worry about, because I can't see here. I think it's bluster, and I think you know,
You're right,
sometimes,
Mary Ramirez. That's exactly what he called them. They are our homegrown criminals. I was actually going to put that in our title today. Because
yeah.
see, here's what happens, you guys. Whenever, like, a lot of this to most of you is just a story. It's just something you see on the news, you're seeing now in the chat, and then your life goes on. You don't do anything proactive to contact your congressmen, senators, representatives, and stuff. Go to your town hall meetings, register to vote, you know, be proactive. To a lot of people, this is just stories that you're hearing.
No, you believe me, because I've done it. You can call your congressman, you can call your senators,
That's what I've said.
because we all have two senators,
Mm-hmm.
and you can let them know, and the more calls they receive, uh, because they realize there's a number that if they're getting a phone call, and they know for every phone call they get, there's probably 10 other people complaining about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
That
if they
haven't
get
called
100
in.
phone calls, now they realize, okay, maybe I need to, at least start looking at this.
Well, but now I'm going to disagree with my little brother here that whenever he
I've got
says
to go. No.
yeah, yeah. But whenever he says that he thinks that this will never happen, well, now, did you ever think that a president could order 2 planes sent to El Salvador with, innocent people on it? Did you ever imagine that could happen?
Yeah.
So, and all this stuff that's held up in courts, and, attorneys being paid and lawsuits being filed. And in the meantime, this is people's lives that are being affected. Can you imagine Andre Navarro, the gay hairstylist, openly confirmed gay, feminine gay? And there's even a picture, which I wish wouldn't have even been shown, of him, but with his head bent, and they're shaving his head and he's crying. To me, that broke my heart. So this is a story to all of us until it happens in your own home.
Yeah.
Or in your own neighborhood. Where does it stop? That if you've got a crown on your body, or something on social media, or how many people do this sign? How many? The yo, 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 just playing around. How many people do that in pictures all the time? For us, back in our day, this was peace. You know what I'm saying? This was peace. Now it's a gang sign. And with a few of them that they've picked up, same thing. They refer to their social media and say the sign they were making, it was a gang sign. It's incorrect. So if our government, you're going to bring it up again, that you always hear Big Brother is watching, we've heard it forever. So when my little brother says that he doubts this will ever happen, I don't doubt that it'll happen. I think that they'll start shipping them, and then it'll be just like the ones that are there now, the guinea pigs, the test group. Then next it's ours, and they'll be fighting in court while they're still shipping them. Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, no, you've got people that have already been sentenced, and if you want to see somebody freed real quickly, all you need to do is ship them there. And you have, under the Constitution, you do have the protection of cruel and unusual punishment, and
Well,
taking and
that's
sending
the
them
Eighth
to a
Amendment.
third world country prison is cruel and unusual.
Yeah. Well, here's a question I have. Does anybody know exactly which 239 people got sent, or 238 people? I mean,
No.
we hear about Abrego Garcia But how do we know that they're all like I can't find a list. I can't find a list of
That's
No,
what I said.
no,
There's not
exactly.
one person that's been brought before the media. Now they claim we got rid of your rapists and your murderers. Well, then why didn't you show their picture and a rap sheet
I would love to know
in either country?
how violent were these criminals?
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Where
Yeah.
is the proof that they did anything?
Amen.
Where?
That's
I think it's fair, and I try to be a reasonable person. I would
Mm-hmm.
like to, just as a reasonable person, I would like to know, you know, were they murderers? Were they, drug dealers? What were they?
That's
I
exactly.
would
what
like to
that's
know.
what they claimed when Pam Bondi did her speech. When Christy Nome, our security girl for Homeland Security, we got rid of you guys. We got rid of people that rape children. They've murdered. Okay, show us the rap sheets. And what
Yeah.
is the point? Like I discussed with Cups the other night. You want to tell me, like they've been highlighting ones that are in prison in El Salvador. They didn't claim they came from the U.S., but they're interviewing someone and they're asking them, how many people have you killed? And they go, 50. You know what? If I was there in that prison being treated the way these people are, less than dogs, if they
Surrounded
told me to say 50, I would say 100.
surrounded
Just
by
why I was the overachiever, and I'm not kidding.
surrounded by people who truly can be murderers who killed 25, you
Right.
definitely want to say 50.
So when they pick one of you out to be on camera, is that even fair?
Yeah.
You know? And what is the deal with Christy Nome, our Homeland Security? What is the deal with her doing commercials about coming to the country legal? And then she went on raids and then they show her holding a machine gun. Does she even have a gun license?
I don't know, but I was pointed at the other guy's head pretty close. I was probably worried about that actually.
Right. But isn't that odd? You've
Well,
got somebody.
here's the thing when we talk about the legalese of it, because there are some of them, like in I think a few of the U.S. attorneys that have gone on raids where they have arrested people, and this is like, not necessarily ICE, but other people, suspects that are arrested and that
Okay.
haven't been to trial yet or anything else. They now subject the whole department, and I'm talking about the Department of
Uh-huh.
Justice, because
Yeah.
they are the
Hold on 1 second.
chief.
Hold on, Cups, 1 second. Pearl says, I don't need to see a list. Just get them out of here. You'll be discussing this for years.
Well,
Really?
Well,
So
they're
we
already.
just fill up planes, give people a sentence of 100 years and just get them out of here because of the color of their skin?
yeah, what if your husband's on the list next without due process?
Well, here because I've heard the saying, and I'm all for, if you got violent criminals that have come here illegally. I agree, they've got to go, but I think it's not like, where they say, well, you make an omelet, you crack a few eggs. These are human beings we're talking about,
And
and if I get out 10 guilty and one innocent, that's one innocent too many, and
and
they deserve their day in court. And here, if what we feel is right, lock them up here. In the meantime, lock them up here in the U.S. Have them have their day in court, and it doesn't have to be a long drawn out thing. They just need to have representation, um, and allow them
Look at
to.
what the guy just did to the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania, to Shapiro.
Yeah.
That burned the first floor of the house. They were upstairs, and then even called the police and turned himself in, said, I'm not hiding and I'll tell you everything. And that if he actually could have gotten to Shapiro, that he would have smashed him in the head with his hammer.
Would have killed him. Yeah.
Right.
Could have
But now
killed his
that
family.
you don't hear get rid of
The
somebody like
outrage.
that at
No,
all. But if your skin is brown, get out of town.
well,
Just saying.
I mean, here, unfortunately, like, we've had a border issue for a while, and it's obviously it's people coming in hopes of a better life, not just for them, but for their children and their children's children. And it's it's sad because, but for the grace of God,
Amen.
you know,
Okay.
we could easily be ourselves one of
Julie
those
is
people,
saying
born
that
in
is asking rather
Honduras
you.
or El Salvador.
Julie is saying you want us to believe they are just flaunting gang affiliation or killing, but you don't believe what the officials are telling you that they have a criminal past.
No,
Absolutely, I'm not
No,
believing it until we,
I will tell you this. I just give them their day in court so they have their chance to either, if the prosecutor will prove his point, and then the defense, they can, say their piece. And then,
right, just like we do with everybody in this country. You
can
go
I,
before the judge, and then the prosecutor brings up the charges against you. Period.
can I,
Go ahead, Jerry.
yeah. The people who deny that the current president had 34 convictions and felony convictions, I'm gonna trust them to say that these brown people are criminals and they're sure. No, I don't trust them. We watched the trial, we saw the sentencing, and you
Big
don't.
Mama says that Christy Nome is a veteran and well acquainted with a gun. Okay, I didn't know that. And still, even if she is well acquainted with a gun, what is she doing in between ICE officers holding a machine gun? Like,
yeah, it's
what?
here in her position, she shouldn't be out there with the.
Yeah, I mean, it was all literally just for promotion. And there's so many people in this country, and I will just say it. And I'm not blaming it on the fever. I'm just going to say it. There are so many people in this country. They could be freaking starving, living in a shack, and that doesn't matter to them as much as racism does. There's a lot of racist people in this country.
Well, here
That
Christy Nome right now has a campaign where it almost seems like
Hi, Mr. Picky Cups. Mr. Picky said it's good to see you again.
good to see you. Glad you're back. So the this is like it's campaign commercial, whatever that's being played. It's in English, so I don't know if it's in Spanish elsewhere, but they have a a, a talking about, come to our country and everything else, and saying that we will deport you. Our president will have deported, and it shows Donald Trump walking over. But with all the cost cutting and people that have been laid off, this is a $200 million campaign that's going out. So I don't know how many. I think it was supposed to reach uh, illegal immigrants, but if it's $200 million, and at least what I saw was in English, I don't know what good it's going to be. If you've got people that don't know English, how well they're gonna. I guess if somebody tells them about it, um, but for all the people that we laid off and we cut and Doge cut and Elon Musk cut, that's $200 million. Why are we spending that $200 million?
Mm-hmm.
At what point you're sending people out of the country and everything else, and all that, and I'm deporting and doing all that. Why do we need to have this additional campaign? And it's
Mm-hmm.
costing $200 million. What
Oh,
happened to social media? Maybe on True Social he can do some free campaigns, and Elon Musk will allow some free campaigns on X. And you know it's like, I just don't like. I think our national debt is so bad as it is. Let's not spend it on stupid stuff. And this, that of all things, seems like stupid stuff to me.
okay.
And
I need to go to the chat real quick.
yeah,
Hi, Texas Val. Welcome in, honey. I saw Pearl saying she's going to pray for only in my dreams and stuff. Guys, I'm just going to remind you, Leslie is there in the chat. And the thing is, like, don't make negative connotations towards someone because their view is not your view. Okay. Like whenever Pearl said she thinks everybody should be deported, that's fine. You can put what you want in the chat, but just don't be derogatory or mean to someone else because Leslie will get you. Okay. I don't care if every single one of you put in the chat, deport, deport, deport. That's fine. That's your opinion and you're allowed to express it here. Okay. I say every week, if you want to be on the panel, my email address, Mr. Cutie's mom at Gmail, and that you can be on the panel. Anybody, mole troll, or, uh, you know, a pineapple from Dole, any of you can be in the chat. Okay. I don't block anyone. I don't know how to block anyone. And if Leslie feels the need to do it, then that's up to Leslie. But I don't want you saying smart things to someone else because they have given their opinion. Okay. Please. Because it just won't be tolerated here. And that's all I have to say on that. It's not going to happen. We have come so far as a group doing these shows. The first one was a crap show of, just all the bad and this and that. And now it's been people coming back every week, and the chat is filling up more and stuff with comments. And I want you guys to feel free to list your concerns, comments, whatever, freely without being judged. What would we be as a panel if we gave a point of view? And I know the three of us do not agree on things, but if we started yelling and screaming at each other, name calling, and then, saying stuff to you guys in the chat, no, you can't say this, and no, but like, what would that be? So just
You'll never be receptive to
exactly.
somebody else's idea, or they will never be receptive to your ideas if all you can do is shout it out.
Amen.
If we can do it with calm voices and literally just respect the fact that, in some cases we can agree to disagree,
Mm-hmm.
but at least trying to do it in a civilized manner. Then you can at least say, hey, I think it's kind of cathartic to get it off my chest because there's some things that bother me. That last thing I talked about, that $200 million campaign, that bothers me.
Yeah.
It does. It's
Well,
$200
no,
million.
right.
And you laid off all these people. Like, come on, wake up.
Mr. Picky is saying that he doesn't understand like why we have to talk about this, being legal or illegal. If you're illegal, that you should go. What's the issue?
Well,
You're
here's one thing.
we've
Let's
had
look at, in the case of Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia has his wife that he's married to is a U.S. citizen. He has 2 U.S. citizen children, right? Isn't it 2?
yep.
So here now you're taking the father and you just put him in a El Salvador CENTCON prison where people die every day in that prison. Die every day. You don't hear a lot about that in the media, but they die every day. There's
Well,
deaths every day.
they actually had a large group that had died. It was over 80 people in a short period of time. So then they started changing some of the food and the treatment of them. Well, how in the world do you really think that you can keep someone away from sunshine and then they're not getting vitamin D? That is something that your body needs. And when you look at some of those prisoners, my gosh, they're just little tiny, skinny, bony men,
Walking
like
around in their
from
underwear,
a concentration camp.
Yeah, getting filmed in their underwear. Let's see the guards walk around in their underwear, see how comfortable they'd be.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't like illegal because a lot of people are undocumented who came here legally and have outlived their visas. And yes, they are here illegally, but they are just really undocumented. They came here the right way. They came on visas. Student visas ran out. Something happened, got lost in the paperwork. I shared in the chat an article about a Filipino citizen who came here, undocumented citizen who came here when he was 2 or 3, and either like a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist and pays into Social Security, like Rebecca said, and will never receive a dime back from Social Security. I mean, he's in his 30s. I shared an article. I shared the link to an article on that. He's a really, really very inspiring story, and his books are as well. So I just, in case anybody's interested, these are people who really, by the time that their parents brought them here, and by the time that their visa ran out, he didn't even know it. He was like 7 or 8 years old. It's not like
Okay.
he, I'm 8 and I'm here illegal. I should go to the court. Like, people just don't realize that not everybody who's here undocumented knows their A. B knows how to fix the citizenship things you guys are talking about. Some people are just trying, and then the visa application gets denied before they actually get their citizenship test. And there's just so many people, and like Rebecca said, and if you don't believe it, I don't care if you don't believe it. It's not happening to the white people from Europe. It's not happening to the Chinese people. It's not happening to the Filipino people. It's happening to the brown people, whether they're from any uh, Latino country south of us, or if they're, from, it's happened to people from Puerto Rico who live here in the United States and they're citizens. So you have to really be mindful. Jesus says, put yourself in the other person's shoes with the great commandment. Do unto them as you would do unto me.
That's right. But has anybody looked at the angle? And you guys tell me, Jerry and Cups and anyone in the chat, does anybody look at the angle that maybe bringing Abrego Garcia back after he's been through this process, after he's talked to ones that he's been deported with, that he's a big liability?
Oh, yes.
Because if he comes back here and he's able to say, hey, you guys, it's not just me and 2 others, it's me and 190 others.
Yep.
That we've done nothing wrong.
And Rebecca, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we were talking to him, or last week, I obviously, it's all blends together sometimes. His family has money to stand up and say, hey, this isn't right. Hey, how about all those people whose families don't, and who are also undocumented and afraid to step up and say, hey, my husband didn't do anything wrong.
If they are even illegal. We were just told that.
Yep.
Well, I believe that the Supreme Court has basically said, and they can claim if there was vagueness in their order, and unless they say otherwise, that they are saying that people being deported are entitled to due process, and obviously other people are being shipped without due process, so that just makes the matter worse, digs the hole deeper, and that to facilitate, which is to make happen, the release of Mr. Garcia. So now Mr. Garcia could still be brought back and then deported. That's right. That still is a possibility.
Hi, Sandy Kirk. How are you, honey? Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't think they'll bring him back because he'll be able to speak out. He'll be able to say stuff.
I think it's going to be a constitutional crisis, and I don't think this is not something. I know the administration wants to talk tough and everything else. This is not something that if you're going to, have a constitutional crisis, you don't do it over this. This is not it.
That's right.
You pick your battle.
Pick your battles.
This is one where if the evidence is there, guess what? Then he'll be going back out. Okay. So if the evidence is there and you feel so confident about it, abide by the Supreme Court's order. Don't create a constitutional crisis and bring him back.
I don't
And
think
then,
it's going to be that simple. He's going to have some stories to tell, and they are not going to want that
Fish in that
because,
open mouth shut.
well, here's the thing. We plan on sending even more there. Now, I saw Mr. Picky said, and again, I appreciate you guys giving your comments. Mr. Picky said that over 80% of those that cross the border illegal are brown people. That is the reason why most of the ones that are being deported are brown. But I agree with that, but it's only specific brown people. A huge amount of Chinese people came and crossed the border. Some of them flew directly into Tijuana and crossed with their luggage. But that group is not targeted.
There's
Okay.
I've mentioned this before. I'm from New York, and there is a huge amount of people undocumented in New York who come and live out of their visas. Huge. I actually worked with several of them because
hmm
my agency would not discriminate whether or not you had a green card as long as you paid your taxes.
I know people here in Florida, and it's not a large number of them that come from Canada that are true Canadians that are illegal, but I know illegal Canadians that are here. Their visas ran out, they didn't go home. But there's other brown groups besides Hispanics that crossed over that border.
Mhm.
And a lot of the ones that's like when they were talking about building the walls and doing all this stuff. And you know what? The hi B lady says hello, Rebecca, Jerry, and Michael Cups. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Eh, but a Mexican said, "Go ahead and build the wall. We have tunnels. Go ahead." But there were so many groups from so many countries. Even in Mexico, the groups that get stuck there. I was shocked when I started learning thousands of Cubans are there and people from El Salvador and Venezuela and Guatemala, because their papers run out, they're fleeing their country,
yeah.
but huge communities of them in Mexico. And I never, until I started meeting people there, because I like to go to Mexico a lot, meeting people there, realizing that when they're in Mexico with no papers, they're illegal. So when they're getting jobs, they're paid less there because they have no papers. And see, I'm admitting
Well,
this. I
and the
never.
same feeling that, some workers have here about, you know, uh, people crossing the border and taking jobs. The Mexicans feel the same when they have people crossing their southern border and taking
Exactly.
jobs. Yeah.
But see, in my own mind, being an American living here, I honestly, and I'm being honest with you guys, I never thought beyond our borders and illegal people until I started meeting people and befriending people in Mexico. And they would say, yeah, what the difference was in their pay because they had no papers to work.
Right.
So that just shows you again how being born here, I just never thought twice about it.
No,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
here, like I said earlier, it's, but for the grace of God,
Amen.
hmm
because we easily could be the person born in Honduras or born
That's right.
in El Salvador and living, with gangs all around us and suffering and
That's right.
all that.
And we were told when President Trump was on the campaign trail that we have millions of undocumented criminals in this country. Millions. Why have we gathered up so few?
Well, like I I know what he was saying, and I looked at it like, come on, it didn't seem like it seemed like a unrealistic number. It just seems so huge.
It's
I'd
so
Well,
be
don't
shocked.
made up.
well, yeah, but don't you guys think that if we literally had that many running rampant in the streets, that we would be hearing about a lot more killings and robberies and rapes? You know what I'm saying?
Of
Yeah,
course.
I hear. I believe me. There's uh probably a lot of violent ones that are out there, maybe laying low, but it's not I can't see it as being millions. You know, I see it. If anything, I think most people that are here illegally, undocumented, uh, they don't want to be in the line. They don't want to go out even get a speeding ticket.
Exactly. Well, now B Lady
So
is talking about the president of El Salvador sitting by President Trump on Monday. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, B Lady, and we also talked about that when President Zelensky came here from the Ukraine, that he was reprimanded for not being grateful and saying thank you to the president, and he did not wear a suit. Well, when President Bukele came from El Salvador on Monday, for the record, he also did not have on a suit, yet nothing was mentioned of that he did not have his suit on, and he had on a turtleneck and a sports coat. But on the couch with Vice President J.D. Vance, our Attorney General Pam Bondi joined him. Yes, Jerry.
I wanted to also mention about the millions and 2 million criminals. He also stated not too long ago that there are millions and millions of people who are over 200 years old getting Social Security checks when there is less than 1% error rate in Social Security. So there's the exaggeration. It was in a recent hearing on Social Security that there's less than 1% error in Social Security um, um, payouts. I'm sorry.
payouts, yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's nowhere near millions and millions. It's just a way that he exaggerates the numbers to make himself and the situation seem more dire, and himself just seem smarter than he really is. But then it's when it comes out that it's not even close to what the numbers are, we don't ever hear that. We never hear like, "Oh, I made a mistake."
Well,
Okay.
when Elon Musk said he would come in and cut $2 trillion, I I had heard that even when the campaign was going on, I was like, how are you going to do that? It did. I mean, my goodness, that's like, and now they're saying it's by the end of this year, it may be about 150 billion, but it's not even certain that it's going to be 150 billion.
Well,
So, and that's with a lot of people, a lot of pain and everything else going on there. A lot of veterans that were laid off, and like our Veterans Affairs people that like the services to the veterans were already being difficult to take care of and everything else. Now to get rid of that many people, it seems like it's
let me jump in. Let me jump in right here. Mr. Picky says there's a big difference between a sport coat and turtleneck and sweats. Well, actually, Zelensky does not wear sweats. He wears like cargo pants that are those like
well,
what do you call them?
he is what he wears. He's worn since his country's been at war. So
Yeah,
his
it's
country's
like
at
a
war.
military style pant. It's not sweatpants.
Yeah, and
And
Winston Churchill came here during World War II when his country was at war, and war fatigues.
okay, Mr. Picky said he's never heard him say millions and millions. He's heard him say hundreds of thousands.
Of what?
I guess of the illegals here.
I'll find it.
No, there's recordings that millions.
Here,
We
and
millions here.
I'm not like anti or anything. So it's like he specifically was saying like 13 million, sometimes 14 million. He'd say. So it's not. And I looked at it at the time like that was all like showmanship and everything else. Just saying numbers that to me didn't even seem like they could be realistic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, guys, we are actually almost 2 hours in. So for the last 10 minutes here, if anybody has any comments or questions that you want to add, that you want addressed, please do it now. And I appreciate you guys being here. I also want to know, I have talked to Cups about doing, even if they are taped, not live, or live in just 30 minutes, a couple times a week, if he will, to just summarize whatever is going on in the news for that day or 48 hours. How would you guys feel about that? Would you be interested in him doing that? Please let me know. And if you will give the video a thumbs up or thumbs down, doesn't matter. Just give it some kind of a thumb. Okay, let's see what we have here. I guess Mr. Pickey's talking to somebody about Social Security. Big Mama says, I think they referenced it with Zelensky because he has come often and begged for billions of dollars.
No, we have.
Okay. Well, I don't know if President Bukele gets his way, his millions are going to turn into billions real quick. But anyway, what my oh my says, Elon Musk years down the road will look back and see he made it to look the fool, and also was used for his money. It's really a shame that he can't at times think for himself. B Lady says 5,000 left on their own. A few days ago, they called self-deport. Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning too, B Lady. But and even people there's two that are American citizens that have been given letters to self-deport. If you watch back the beginning of the show, we talked about it right there. Mr. Pickey says he does not care if Zelensky was wearing a Speedo. His attitude is what irritated me. I wouldn't care if they were all nude in the room. You know what I'm saying? It's I'm serious. Yes, Jerry, go ahead.
Oh, I said Zelensky's attitude or Trump's attitude?
He's saying he didn't like Zelensky's attitude. Pearl College is saying, yes, Rebecca, sounds good. Can we talk about the Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf tragedy? We can look into it for you, Pearl. Sure. And we've already kind of got a list done of current things, but if we can squeeze that in for you, we will. Big Mama says, sorry, I missed the first half of the show. Did you cover the battery charges on Mr. Abrega? No, we talked about, I didn't see any battery charges, just that there was an order of protection. And there's no charges ever been filed against him.
Well,
So
I think his wife, as I recall, had said something to the effect like she didn't press charges or something.
right. You know how young couples do that makeup, breakup, get the order of protection, all that kind of stuff. I've seen it happen plenty of times, and then they make up and they're perfectly fine.
And just throwing it out there, and we'll know about it. Like if the administration follows what the Supreme Court says, gets him back here, and then he has his day in court, and then they may have all this evidence, and then this evidence, he might be guilty of,
Exactly,
a lot
but
of things.
give him due process.
Yeah.
That's all that we're saying. Give him due process. But I personally think it's not going to happen unless there is like severe reprimand for it. Because again, he's been there. He's been inside the place. He's talked to the people he's been with on these planes. He's too much of a liability to let him go. I wouldn't be surprised. And God forbid, I hope this doesn't happen.
Don't say it. Don't say it. You don't jinx him.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking. So, yeah. But I just pray that's not the outcome. But please, if you guys would let me know in the live chat or in the comment section, if you would be interested in a shorter version of the Wednesday night show, a couple nights a week, either a live or a taped one, just going over, summarizing what's going on in the government. Please let me know, because if you're interested in it, Cups is willing to do it.
I love the feedback too. Because I love to hear what everybody's thinking and all that, especially like in a a format where it's like, no pointing fingers and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
Exactly. So he enjoyed himself so much that
Sorry.
he said, "Hey, I'd like to come on and do this if the people are interested." So
Yeah, and
you have to.
news changes so much from day to day. By the time we hit the week, like sometimes we'll have a topic picked out on Monday or Tuesday. I mean on Sunday or Monday, and then by Tuesday you're like, oh my gosh, why we gotta do that topic? Why gotta do this topic? Gee, what happened today?
That's right.
Exactly.
Or
Exactly. Well, now Margarita said yes. Mr. Picky, or Picky Nikki said she watches lives, videos, not so much. And if we can get, hint, hint, Mr. Picky, I talked to your wife today and I said it would be awesome to get Mr. Picky and Cups together and have a man show so that literally, like right now, you've got two women up here and then we've got Cups. But we all know that men think different than women do. And it would be an awesome representation to have a couple men to see your views versus ours. You know what I'm saying?
we also
So,
have parents up here.
uh-huh. What my oh my Cups does not have a channel. He is actually one of my younger brothers. If you do not see the resemblance, I'm a lot whiter than he is right now because I'm so sick. But I'm getting better. Cups, how long were you sick? Like at least 2 months?
Couple months. Yeah.
Yeah, with the same thing that I've got right now. I mean, it has knocked me on my butt. Literally knocked me on my butt.
Aren't you
So
still a country away? What'd you do? Pass it via computer virus? But
Yes. No, I have an antivirus on my.
that's not funny. But yeah. So no, I mean this cold and congestion and head stuff, it's all over the country. So and giving you antibiotics and steroids and stuff. I've been to the doctor a couple times for it. I called my doctor today, literally laying in bed, and I just have the phone on speaker, and I'm like, I need help. They're like, the doctor's not in on Wednesday. Well, you better get her in. I need help. So
Yeah.
I planned my
Or deport me.
medications. Yeah, well, I planned my medications literally because I was suffering today, but I planned them to be able to take them during the time that the show would be on. So I'm not coughing and I only sneezed once, twice just at one time. But, and every time I talk, my ear is just pounding. It is killing me. So, but I got the eardrops the whole bit. It's been bad. It's been really bad. So I hope I'm coming out of it. But Mr. Picky says, Cups, you can tell you are educated and you're careful about what we say, making sure it's not false. Much respect, my friend. Yes, our family believes in education. Cups has the highest education. He has a master's degree. He trumps me with a bachelor's, but he has a master's degree and he's highly intelligent. So, and that's one of the things for me that I love is having intelligent conversations in a calm way, and
Yeah.
like I said, this group that's on here right now has just grown so much. Like, when Pearl is saying deport people, and I said, hey, great, that's your opinion. I want everyone to know that they have a voice and a seat at this table,
Hmm.
that there's nobody that's going to jump down your throat and call you names and tell you to shut up or, where you can go. No, there's no reason for that. We can actually, as a group, as a live chat, we can be an example to other shows and to the world of how people should behave.
Yeah. None of the scream and yell and stuff.
Exactly. So, because you always listen to your big sister, right?
Yes.
He's so lying. He's so lying. So, but yeah. So if you guys would like I said, if I can, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Pearl. Yeah, this stuff is horrible. And then when it's in your chest, it's like a ton of bricks just sitting there. But anybody that ever wants to be a guest on the show, we can have a total of up to 8 people on the panel at one time. If we literally had that much, I would just, do the hand raise or a paddle for people to speak so that we wouldn't be all talking over each other. but anyone is welcome to join at any time. And like I said, if you're interested in having Cups do a few more lives a week, versus doing the tape ones, just put it in the chat or put it in the comment section. Okay. So, but thank you all so much for being here. And another reminder, and this is the last reminder because you're just going to be getting blocked, not just deleted, but blocked from the, Rebecca, you remind me of the United Nations. Well, I hope that's in a good way, but, my life right now, B Lady, is literally 2/3 over, and I'm going to live it being the best person and the best Christian that I know. How to be. And that is, and there was a verse shown today in Bible study that was quote by mistake, but it was saying about, remember, Jerry,
Yes, ma'am.
about whenever people are evil, that you are to love them, not to be evil back. So I believe in showing people grace and, trying to be an example to them. But, I'm just not going to tolerate tearing people down, saying negative things, judging me, on a chat about our government. So just be kind. If you put those comments in this past week, I answered you. This week, I'm not going to answer you. And like I said, you won't be deleted. You will just be blocked. Okay? Because I'm just not going to tolerate that here. I stay in my lane. I'm good to people. If any of you contacted me and you needed help, whatever I could do in my power to help you, I would. And that means anyone. So, but don't come for me. I'm the wrong person. I have too much full life, the whole bit. You hardly ever see me on YouTube. Okay. So I'm not jumping the fence and going into the dirty kitty crowd. I'm not doing it. Okay. But thank you all for being here. I hope that you have a great week. Let's see what I can talk Cups into and what he'll do, according to his schedule. But be kind when you go out into the world. Always put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And I'm just going to tell you, God bless you and God bless America. Do you guys have anything to say?
Oh, yeah.
No. Best to everybody. God bless.
Okay.
All right. If nobody's told you today that you're loved, you can always come by and hear much we love you. We love you very much. And as always, take care. God bless. And we'll see you next time.
Bye. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. I think I ended the stream.